Hello everyone, my name is Dmitry, I am from Russia, from Moscow, and I want to discuss some problems and explain you how to make surgery and some symptoms of TFCC injury of your hand. I did the same video in Russian, but now I want to say some words in English for foreign and English speaking people. Sorry for my English because I didn't use it so much, and I use usually it in online games and reading, but not in speaking. First of all, I want to say that how I realized that I have a TFCC injury. I used to play badminton, not on professional level, but with some average opponents. And one day I realized that I have to feel pain when I use this movement of my hand. It's pronation, and I had pain in this spot. It's not. It wasn't very strong pain, but it made me to not to use some types of hits in badminton like smash because it was uncomfortable for me. But I didn't understand what is going with my hand. So I decided to have a rest for 2 weeks, and I didn't play badminton for 2 weeks. And I went to doctor, and he said to use some diclofenac and don't to play not to play badminton. So, after 2 weeks of this treatment, called RICE, rest, ice, compression, there is no improvement in my symptoms because it's the same. It was the same pain in this spot. So I decided to make an MRI of my wrist. It's not very expensive in my country, so I decided to pay. It's about 40 USD, and I did an MRI, one with half Tesla, but then I realized that it will be better if I did an MRI 3 Teslas, but one with half Tesla, it's okay. So I did an MRI, and it showed that it's some problems with TFCC. It was some signals on T2, and I don't know what to do with this, so I decided to go to the wrist surgeon, to the one of the best clinics in my country. It's Udina hospital in Moscow. And when I asked the surgeon what is going with my hand, with my wrist, he said that I have problems with my TFCC as a MRI, and says, and it was two ways how to treat this condition. One of them was conservative treatment, but it's not very likely to cure it in my case because it wasn't fresh injury. It was injury that I had for some time. So I decided to make a surgery, and now I am with this nice splint, Münster splint. So if you want to treat your wrist conservative, you need to understand that you can't do any pronation and the supination movement of your wrist, because TFCC absorb some power of these bones. Its role to take 20% of impact power when you pronate or supinate. So if you want to treat it conservative, you must avoid this type of movements for some weeks. I heard about 6 weeks, so you need to buy such splint, Münster splint, and after that to have some physiotherapy and you can only slowly progress on this injury. It's not impossible to wait 2 weeks and go to play tennis right after that. So I decided to make a surgery, and 2 weeks later I had a surgery. It cost for me about 1,000 USD. It's possible to make this surgery for free by insurance, but I needed to wait for some months to this surgery, and I didn't want to wait, so I paid about 1,000 USD. And after that, I had an arthroscopic surgery. When the camera goes to this spot, and I realized, and my surgery realized that I had 2 injuries, not only a TFCC injury, but also the scapholunate ligament injury. So I went to the hospital. I had an anesthesia within my neck. They inject some medicaments in my neck, so I didn't feel my whole arm, and the surgery took about 2 hours. Next day I spent in a hospital. This surgery is not very difficult, so I saw everything on display while surgery. And the next day after surgery I spent in my hospital, and the next day I went to home, and that's all. So after that I needed to wear this splint for 6 weeks, and today is the 7th week is going on, so I will go to the physiotherapist tomorrow, and we will start to make some trainings, some procedures for my wrist, because my hand is atrophic. I can show you. This is my hands look like now. It's very thin compared to the left hand. I don't know. It's okay. This is some scars of after surgery, but it's okay. My hand, I can move my hand, but I can't do pronation and supination, and I'm afraid of doing this. So I will see my doctor tomorrow, and we will do some first movements of my hand together. So I want to record some new videos about how I recovered from this surgery, because I think it's very useful for people not to afraid surgery. But I think if you can do a conservative treatment, do this first, because 6 weeks of this in this splint, it's not great feeling, because you cannot do what to think with one hand, and if you are right-handed and you do operation on your right hand, it's very difficult to make anything in like cooking, like doing laundry and everything. It's not good. I expect full recovery of my ROM, flexion, extension, supination, pronation, but I heard that not everybody recovered it to 100%. But I will do anything to make it 100% recovery. So after my treatment, after maybe next week, I will record new video, because I think it's very interesting for people with the same injury, how to recover your wrist after surgery. So it's the 6th week, and the next will be 7. Okay, that's all. I think I will record some new videos about this problem, how to understand that you have a TFCC problem, because there is some stress tests to this condition, and make some videos about how it will go in after 10 weeks, 3 months, and half a year, because it's critical points of my recovery. And doctor said that after 6 months my hand will be near to my healthy hand, in strength, in movements. So I will make a new video about this. Thank you for watching. Feel free to ask some questions in the comments under this video. So bye.